Hello, it's Valdir. I was just running through the woods and I'm in my forest sanctuary, as you might call it, and I felt compelled to share a story with you. And I think this story is very important because of the message that it brings to our community during this specific time, this shatter point in which we can either succeed or fail in this world that's already hostile to us. A couple years ago, I had the chance to go see Wardruna. I live in the middle of the United States and he was going to be in Virginia. So of course, I am not the kind of person to let distance or obstacles stop me. So I drove an entire day to get there. It was on sort of short notice. And I remember it being a very enlightening experience for me. I expected the music to be great. I expected it to be meaningful, and I expected it to be memorable. But what I didn't expect was to be given the single most important key to modern paganism. And that is something that I want to share with you. At that time, Einar Selvik, the lead person and artist from the band Wardruna, he had just come out with his song entitled, Ragnar's Death Poem, or something along those lines. It's not quite important. But right before he played that for us for one of the first times as a band, he got up there and he gave us maybe a 2 or 3 minute speech about why he does what he does. And that's the lesson I want to share with you today. I won't be able to say it word for word, but I'm going to try to get the heart of it across to you. We, as modern pagans, are not trying to bring back the old ways. I know. You see those memes everywhere, and you see tons of people hearkening back to the way it used to be, or the way our ancestors used to live. And I'm here to tell you that that's not a realistic goal. That's not an achievable goal, and that's not a helpful goal. To get in touch with our ancestors is a very important thing. But I would ask you, what part of it is more important to you? Living how they lived in terms of means and location and how they did their daily life, when they ate breakfast, what kind of mead they drank, how they made their bread? Or is it the way they felt around their family, the duty that they felt to protect their community, their relationship with the forces that we call the gods, their close connection with nature, their resourcefulness, their resilience? That is what it is supposed to mean to get in touch with our ancestors. So that's the first part of it. We are not here to bring back the old ways. Not only will we be seen as anachronistic, we won't make any headway in convincing people that we have an actually tangible and feasible way to live. And even if we won that great victory, why would we want a nation of basic people living like it was 800 AD? If we extend our goals to completion and look at the world, that has to tell us something. And that's why I'm telling you that, to me, getting in touch with how they saw things, the way they were, is far more important than living exactly how they lived and dressing exactly like they dressed. Because I know plenty of people that dress like Vikings and are horrific in character. Or dress like whatever ancestors they're trying to emulate. The second part of it is we are not trying to make something completely new. We are not Scientology, thank the gods. We are not trying to develop an entirely new system out of nowhere. Could we? Probably. I have a lot of faith in our community and a lot of faith in what we could achieve when we put our minds together. But to do that without our soul would be, again, pointless. So, we are not trying to bring back the past. We are not trying to spontaneously birth a new future out of nowhere. So what did Einar say we are trying to do? It's very simple. We are trying to make the old new. And what does that mean? It sounds really simple, but in our day and age, and especially given our beliefs, it's very complex. And I won't get into it in a great deal now. I certainly will over the course of the next couple of months as I discuss philosophy and things that I believe our community should hold dear. But for today, I just want to give you that thinking point. What does it mean to you to make the old new? And if you actually think about in practice what that would be, I think it reveals both the strengths and the flaws of our current community. I personally have nothing against people that dress like their ancestors or who wear ceremonial garb a lot. I think that doing that during rituals and doing that when you're trying to have a spiritual experience is very important. And I think it is a good way to get yourself in the mindset of your ancestors. But don't forget, that's only what it is, okay? You are trying to get yourself in the mindset of your ancestors. We cannot appear painfully outdated or like we're just role playing. And I think that a lot of people have that impression of our community, that we are just LARPing around in forests and not doing anything productive. And that's why, honestly, I'm coming to you today, and I will always come to you exactly as I am. So, like I said, I was out walking and running in the forest, and I felt compelled to give you this video. And I guarantee you, I am just a pagan, and just as much of a pagan as someone wearing the exact garb of our ancestors. So I want to call your attention to that little detail first, that it doesn't matter what we wear. If we are not living like them, then it's useless. And it doesn't matter what we wear if we are not sending a message that can reach more people, if we are not examples of character, then it's useless. Another aspect of it is the way that we talk about our gods and the way that we talk about our culture. If we keep hearkening back to 800 AD, I have news for you. Are we that much better than Christians? We criticize them constantly for being outdated, for being stuck in the past, for following, a guy from the Middle East that at this point died over 2,000 years ago, even if we go with history. So why would we willingly do the exact same thing that we're criticizing other people for? The 800s, the 900s, the entire Viking Age was not a golden age of pretty much anything for Europe. It was great for our culture, sure. It was great for us to be able to prove our mettle, to be able to prove our ingenuity, to advance our technology, to explore new things. But the gods don't belong only to us. And those principles that underlie that, the spirit of adventure, bravery in all situations, the willingness to explore, self-reliance, ingenuity, these are all things that are not unique to that time period, even for Scandinavians. So I would ask us to also expand our mindset a little bit into what we talk about and to how we frame pretty much everything. Because we're not trying to drag people back to 800 AD or whenever you think of the golden age of Viking stuff, I guess. We are trying to show them that our ideas are ancient, precede that age by a millennia or even more, and are still around today. That kind of staying power should not be limited to a couple hundred years. And if we did, then it would be guilty of trying to bring back the old. So I would just leave you with those thoughts and then this final one. Actually, two. I want to leave you with two thoughts. One, if I asked you to envision what the gods would look like 1,000 years from now, let's pretend society is extremely advanced in terms of technology. Conjure to mind something like Blade Runner or, something like, I don't know, anything from WALL-E to Blade Runner. Pick your future. Tell me what the gods would look like under those circumstances. If people couldn't associate in any way, shape, or form with a historical time period because it's so far removed, what would the gods look like? Would they still have relevance? How would you teach their relevance? I guarantee you, if we began teaching the gods in the form of ancient Sumeria, we would be laughed out of society completely. So if you project our beliefs 1,000 years into the future, how do you sell the gods to the greater community? How do you even view the gods in that kind of society? If you can't, then I have news for you. You don't fully understand the principles that they underlie. Because to me, it doesn't matter what nation we're in, what continent we're on, what planet's air we're breathing. The forces that the gods are omnipresent. And I guarantee you I can describe them in any situation. And I think we should all be able to do that if we want to have any sort of staying power and any sort of clout in this world. And the second point that I'd like to leave you with is, again, how would you make the old new in our modern world? How would you make it relevant to everyone?